I didn't flinch when they laughed. 12 years had passed, but their voices hadn't aged. Sharp, cutting, the same blades they used on me in high school. Still single? Still working retail? Their husbands leaned in, smirking, proud to echo their wives' cruelty. I smiled, small, submissive. "Just trying to get by," I said, playing the part I'd rehearsed. And then, right on cue, the principal's voice carried through the gymnasium. "Tonight's reunion is generously sponsored by the Rivers Foundation." My foundation. My name stitched into every paycheck those smug husbands collected. Their laughter cracked in their throats. Mine waited in silence. Flashback. I met them at 15. I was the quiet one with a second-hand backpack, working nights at my uncle's store while they flaunted manicures and SUVs in the student lot. They didn't just notice the gap between us, they sharpened it, widened it. I believed if I worked harder, achieved more, they'd respect me. Instead, I became their entertainment. Back then, I thought cruelty was temporary, that once we left school, they'd grow out of it. I was naive. Because cruelty doesn't age, it multiplies. The first cracks. It was 2 years after graduation when I saw one of them again. Rachel, married already, posting pictures in Italy while I worked double shifts. At first, I envied her. But envy turned into suspicion. Her husband, the one smiling with his arm around her, worked for a company that had just folded, bankruptcy. Yet there they were, sipping wine at vineyards. Then another, Melissa, flashy rings. But whispers reached me, her husband couldn't keep a job, not for long. Always fired, always misunderstood. One by one, their glossy facades began to peel. They had clung to wealthy marriages as their golden ticket, but the men behind them were incompetent, spoiled, or lazy. And that's when I realized their strength was borrowed. Mine would be built. The shift. I stopped chasing approval. I stopped waiting for respect. Instead, I studied, listened. I learned how money moved, how businesses fell, how desperate men disguised weakness with charm. I built connections in silence, shook hands no one noticed, signed contracts under borrowed names, until, one day, I didn't need disguises anymore. The Rivers Foundation was born from those years of restraint. Not charity in the sentimental sense. No, I made it practical. A lifeline for failing companies, a net for men on the edge of ruin. The very kind their husbands became. And when they reached out, hungry, broke, eager for a second chance, I offered it. With conditions. Always with conditions. The plan. When the reunion invitation arrived, I almost ignored it. But then I thought of them, those girls who'd carved their laughter into my memory, and I knew I couldn't waste this stage. I dressed simply, understated, let them assume what they wanted. I walked into that gymnasium smelling of cafeteria coffee and dusted bleachers, the same backdrop where they'd once cornered me. And, like clockwork, they circled. Rachel, Melissa, Jenna, lipstick perfect, dresses tailored, eyes glinting with hunger for a target. Their husbands at their sides, puffed up with borrowed pride. Still single? Retail? Really? Guess some things never change. Their voices rose, drawing others near. A public humiliation. A performance. They thought they'd written the script. But they hadn't seen the ending. The reveal. The principal cleared his throat. Tonight's reunion is proudly sponsored by the Rivers Foundation, founded by one of our very own alumni. Their heads turned. The crowd followed his hand as it extended to me. Silence first, then clapping, cheers. I stayed seated, let the applause stretch, let the girls choke on it. I saw Rachel's smile falter, Melissa's jaw tighten, Jenna's nails dig into her glass. Their husbands? They looked at me with recognition, fear, Because they knew. The Rivers Foundation was their employer, their lifeline, the only reason they weren't bankrupt, jobless, forgotten. I tilted my head, finally standing. "Just trying to get by," I repeated softly, this time letting the weight of truth hang between us. The fallout. They didn't speak. They couldn't. Their men shifted, glancing at me with the trapped look of gamblers who'd realized the dealer owned the table. I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need to raise my voice. The room was already mine. When I left that night, I didn't look back. I knew the whispers would spread. The shame would rot quietly inside them. Every dinner conversation would taste of it. Every paycheck their husbands cashed would carry my name. That was enough. Reflection. They once laughed at my silence, but silence became my weapon. They gave me scars. I gave them futures tied to my mercy. Justice isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or fury. It slips in quietly, a knife under velvet, a smile that lingers too long.